Welcome to, is this considered to be an undead?
Yeah, I guess it's a live undead because we're coming
Live
to you
undead.
live.
Slayer.
Little Slayer
Oh,
reference
look at
there
that.
for you.
It's right off the cuff. So we're right here at the Science March, City
Houston,
Hall,
Texas.
Houston version, that is. And guess what? This is happening all
Internationally.
around. Internationally, man. I saw some folks in South Korea and Germany,
Yeah.
South America, everywhere. They're all talking about this.
I'm
And the
sure
reason,
there's some going on in LA.
and it's,
too.
yeah, in LA.
San Francisco.
Yeah. And the thing is like that, the same thing happened at the Women's March.
What?
It was like, where it was just like an international thing.
I don't know. I wonder how many people collectively came together for science. Who knows? But it's a noble fucking cause, and we're out here doing our part.
Exactly.
Got people speaking in the background on behalf of the scientific endeavor. But before we go too far into the episode, Sean Rowe had a little something he wanted to give you a little preface, if you will.
Because it is Earth Day, so I just wanted to give you guys a primer, if you will, about climate change. Because it's Earth Day, so we need to be more aware of all of this nonsense about the proliferation of fossil fuels, things of that nature, and old technologies, and also regimes and governments that are supporting these types of technologies because
The conflict of their economical interests.
exactly. But the thing is that there's not going to be, the human species isn't going to exist if we continue along this path.
Wouldn't you like to suggest, though, that maybe the human species doesn't deserve to exist if it's such a fucking, a menial issue that's going to stand before us and we can't figure it out? Like, seriously, like, everybody...
I suppose that would be a question posed whenever we create AI. Then we'll ask the overlords.
The overlord.
We'll just be like, hey, is this just like the natural evolutionary track that we're following here? And then they're going to be like, yes, and now you're going to die.
Have at it.
Boom, boom, boom. I mean, but Neil deGrasse Tyson always says, why don't you just shoot the computer? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be able to exist. But, all right, philosophical, questions aside, like this guy is.
Sorry, I derailed it with Colossus.
As he always does. So, climate change. I wanted to tell you guys about these experiments that have been going on since the time of Carl Sagan. So, since back then. So, him and another physicist, an astrophysicist to be more precise, his name was James Pauly. They got together and they started working on the first computer models to predict climate change. And how they did that was they were able to. Yep, we hear you.
Thank you all for being here, for taking time.
They modeled how light behaves whenever it goes through the atmosphere. And this is very important because electromagnetic radiation, that's light. The only reason why you can see is because electromagnetic radiation is reflecting things into your eyes, and then it's
Your
like
photoreceptors.
and it's presenting you with an image, if you will, that is allowing you to see. But I mean, it's not
Visible light spectrum.
yeah, it's not. It's Newton's prism, guys. You see, everybody knows this image of Newton holding up the prism with his window. And a little beam of light is going through the prism, and then the 7 colors are going out the end. That's the visible spectrum. All right. So all the colors, Roy G. Biv, right? What is it? Red,
orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet.
Oh, by the way, the only reason why he chose 7 is because he was obsessed with the occult and alchemy and all that shit. So he was like, oh, 7's
So
a
it's
mystical
into
number.
numerology.
I'm just gonna, create like an arbitrary. So why is there like indigo and fucking it's like why? Why'd you do that?
I dig it.
In any case, the visible light spectrum falls between 390 and 700 nanometers. Okay? That is so small that you can't even really comprehend it, right?
Smaller than a thumb.
So, light goes through the atmosphere, and greenhouse gases, especially CO2, are arranged in a linear fashion. You know what? I'm just gonna...
I didn't know what that meant until he had to draw a picture. I'm dumb.
Lack of access to health care.
That's how CO2 is arranged. That's how it looks. It's just a straight line. It's an oxygen, a carbon, and another oxygen. So light can just...
Yeah, see, I didn't know that.
So light can just willy-nilly just pass through this shit.
Really? Is that a technical term?
Yes. It's a scientific term.
It's
a scientific term, yeah. So, all of this light is able to pass through the CO2, but then when it hits the ground, then it goes back out. Yeah, this stuff, this matter right here, this crude matter.
It bounces off this and goes into the atmosphere.
Yeah, it does.
And heats that shit up.
And the type of light that bounces back up is powerful enough to bounce back up is infrared spectrum, not the visible spectrum. So the wavelength of infrared is 10 times the amount of the visible spectrum. So 700 nanometers? No. It's 700 to the 10th power nanometers.
That's a lot of nanometers.
It is. It's a lot of nanometers. Whenever that goes back up, guess what? Carbon dioxide, all the other greenhouse gases, they trap it. And therefore, the Earth becomes warmer. Because it's trapping all the infrared. And it's like just trapping it just minute after minute, day after day. And it's just getting worse and worse. So that's the science behind it. It's not up for discussion. It's beyond a reasonable doubt that it is happening. Climate change.
Yeah. You're nailing it fucking coffin for you to add any question.
Yeah. Anybody that denies it is dead wrong. And the number one reasoning behind denying it is photosynthesis. Trees and plants and all of this, carbon-based life form organisms, right?
All that stuff.
They breathe carbon dioxide and they exhale oxygen. So you'll come across a person that's going to be like, oh, well, if plants absorb all the CO2, then it's fine that we're burning all this coal and that we're driving our huge cars that we have for no reason, our Hummers
Yeah,
or
but if we're cutting
SUVs.
down all the fucking trees, if that were the case, even still, there'd be not enough trees to absorb all the CO2.
Oh man, look at that. So, not only...
So save the rainforest is what we're saying.
Save the rainforest. Because even if we planted like billions of trees across the planet, even if we did that, it still doesn't catch up to the amount that we've already screwed up. So that's why that argument is wrong. Because we're like so far ahead in the proliferation of greenhouse gases that all the plants in the world aren't going to be able to solve this problem.
So how long ago would we have had to start our big planting of trees?
Oh man, like 100 years ago.
Like carpet bombing, it'd be seed bombs.
Yeah, seed bomb. Carpet bomb seeds. Just rain them down. Actually, this evolutionary biologist E.O. Wilson, he wrote this really interesting book called Half Earth. He proposes that in order to solve various crises that are coming to our planet, he's saying that half of the Earth should be devoted to saving the rainforest and all that hippie stuff. That I actually agree with, so I'm not condemning the hippies. Go hippies. And save the other half for humans to be. So he's saying just move everybody to occupy just one half of the Earth. And the other half is just like a
botanical
green,
garden.
Yeah, all that kind of shit.
Interesting. Food for thought.
That is interesting. But so back to the computer models. So Sagan and Pollock, they were able to create these computer models, and these were very crude. We have much better ones now. But do you guys want to know how these computer models were verified and were known to be true? Because this right here is the essence of science. This right here is why this is happening all around the world. This is the essence of science right here. With existing data, at this point. Graphs and matrices, just all of this data that we have in like books and like research from before that point of the original computer models.
Found knowledge.
We verified that these computer models worked because we simulated the past and then cross-referenced it over and over and over and over with the existing data. So it's like working backwards. You ever like work an algebra problem backwards to check your answer? Well, that's what it is. So it's like, well, this model is successful because we just cross-referenced it with data that we already recorded by using like the old school techniques. So therefore, this is accurate. This works. That's science right there.
Science, bitch.
It's science. And you're able to peer review, then you're able to cross-reference, and you're able to like double-check everything over and over and over and over.
And that's actually a very critical element, and it's actually under a lot of, I don't know, I don't want to call it scrutiny, but it's under fire, essentially, because if I'm not mistaken, there was a effort to discontinue the usage of peer review. I can't remember if it was going before the House or whatnot. I remember mentioning
I read about that.
Yeah, and without that peer review, you can get the most crackpot scientists available. You can just project some half-cocked theory, and without the crucial element of peer review, you're literally subjecting yourself to the general interpretation to be what the general Joe Blow on the street interprets whatever this half-cocked theory happens to be, and that's pretty low standard.
And like, beware.
A very low common denominator to be
the lowest in existence.
Yeah.
And beware of all these crackpots that he mentioned, because more than likely they're going to believe in pseudoscience, which is not real. Like, for example, I was just watching Bill Nye's new show on Netflix last night, and there is a doctor, a sound therapy doctor, because this particular episode was over alternative medicine. And so this guy puts patients on a table and like yells at their organs in various, octaves and whatnot. And it's like, I'm gonna repair your kidney
Just by yelling.
by like humming different, like alternating between humming and like just like just like at your kidney.
Sounds like a very, very, very scientific method.
Yeah. And it's just what? Like that's
And there was an
that
absolute
can't
pun
possibly
intended.
that can't possibly work. But pseudoscience is
I'm not a doctor, I wouldn't know.
it's just making its way, around this world. There's just sound therapy, alternative medicine, alternative facts, which is not a thing.
It's a bullshit term.
Just so you know, doesn't exist. That's not real. That's bullshit.
Yeah, man, you know what I'm thinking about? The word truthiness that got introduced into the lexicon a couple of years ago. Truthiness. Truthiness.
Wow.
Like, it's Andover pertaining to a truthful element within a fucking torrent of bullshit that's been, projected towards somebody. But I'll bet you that the whole idea of truthiness exists within alternative facts. And ultimately, I think it comes down to the whole point is that there's a general interest in making sure you don't know what the fuck's going on. That you can't interpret what you're looking at. There's an interest in keeping you in the shade of brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really mean for it to tie in all together like that, but
Hey,
you wanted it, have it.
It works. It works.
It works.
Cognitive dissonance, man, that's a real thing. One of the speakers, like 20 minutes ago, he was asking the crowd, hey, how old is the universe? And I was like, because everybody here knows already, it's like 13.8 whatever billion years old. 14 if you want to.
Not one of them suggested 6,000.
Not one of them suggested, not one of them suggested some nonsense like 6,000.
Which brings us to my favorite part of the program, or the discussion rather. The influences that are serving as a catalyst for this very event to even have to take place in the first place.
Exactly.
And I'm talking about your radical religious kooks who have they pervaded. I mean, shit, dude. I can't say that they pervaded our government. They seem to have always been a element to our government, which is an issue in and of itself. But the very fact of the matter is we have laws that are being introduced due in part to maintain a unsubstantiated claim that it is of value to teach kids an alternative to the evolutionary model. And that standard story that they always defer to is the creationist model, where they're claiming 6,000 years for the planet. There's a whole host of implications that tie into the fact that these are particularly Christians that are doing this in the United States. That's not to say that they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't Muslim, or if this wasn't some type of religious Jewish state, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're speaking upon Christians because we're in the United States.
Exactly.
That's what everybody has to realize. Is that if we were in India, who knows? We may be talking about the Hindus. I don't know. It just depends on where you are. It's all the same, nevertheless. We've got people that are in the cabinet, the executive branch, that are openly denying science.
Interestingly enough,
Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, said that he thinks that the separation of church and state is unconstitutional. You know what the Attorney General is? That's the head of the Department of Justice. So that's laughable, and it's actually egregious.
And it's very egregious. And you wouldn't know this because the podcasts that we shot that have yet to make it to the various social media outlets, you wouldn't know this, but we spoke previously, unbeknownst to you, about someone named Betsy Voss, who she's a primary contributor to the Voss organization or something like that.
Yeah, the Voss, the Secretary of Education.
Yes. Well, one of the things that she is projecting through her organization is various ideas that are consistent with the whole creationist model of thinking. And it is interesting to note, we've said this previously, that even individuals close to her have suggested that she doesn't necessarily even believe in the creationist model, but yet she's in advocacy of a group that would project that idea, because she knows that there's a audience readily waiting for that type of endeavor to be thrust upon the country, because they're religiously minded in a fundamental underlying sense, perhaps. But there's that collective group think of, hey, that's what the team's doing. I don't want to be thought of as not being a team player. So let's get on board. Okay, the Earth's only 6,000 years old now. That's what we're saying. Okay, let's ride along with that. And they're doing it, and they're affecting the scientific curriculum. They are affecting the general and greater overall interpretation of what actually is versus what is dictated to you to be. And I don't necessarily want to speak from through the national, the lens of nationalism, but man, it's making the home team look bad.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just talking against groupthink, but here I am talking about nationalistic groupthink. But I don't know. I guess that's where I can be the hypocrite or whatever. I'll fucking take it. I'm just saying, I don't like the idea of our nation being our nation. This is our nation.
USA.
Yeah.
USA. We're number one.
Ha!
Not really.
That's what
Not really. We're not number one.
No, we're like 35, if not less, in science. We're something like that. I'm not good in science. I wasn't good in math. I can conjugate a verb pretty well, but other than that.
But just like that same speaker was saying, you don't have to have a degree to do science. You don't have to have credentials. You just make your observations, you record your observations.
Cross-reference your data.
Exactly. You just observe. That's all you do.
Wait, watch, and learn. If I can quote HW. It's funny, I brought that up during the conversation. But
so that's why science can be trusted more so than religion.
Because
religion is just like here's this, and like boom, that's it. You know. Let me tell you about this experience that I had in at communion, first communion. So your confirmation, to those of you that aren't Catholic, or have been in the past, obviously, because I'm not. Whenever you're Catholic, whenever you reach a certain age, in your like adolescence, you have to go through your confirmation. You have to go through like the journey of like officially becoming a member of the church and whatnot. And the reason why they make you do this at such a young age is so that they can just instill all of these thoughts in you, like without that much backlash.
While you're still Santa Claus susceptible.
Exactly. So I absolutely refused to do this.
Rebel, this guy.
I would not do it. And I finally broke down when I was like 16 or something, which is way past when you're supposed to, like years and years past. Like 7 years past or some shit. So I walk up in there and there's like these little ass kids and like, there's like little kid, like plastic, like play school tables, shit. And the teachers of these classes, they're trying to brainwash you, man.
Oh, no doubt.
They're like straight up spitting all this nonsense. I left. I got up and left in the first class because I was like, this is bullshit. This is horseshit. I'm not gonna expose myself to this nonsense.
No, nor should you. It's bullshit and it's bad for you.
There's no peer review. There's no checking your facts.
It's just, here's this information, take it or leave it. And hopefully you'll take it because it's going to be part of the agenda. Thank you for your cooperation.
And the thing is that, the moderates, people that don't really believe in their religion, but like it's kind of like halfway believe.
Yeah, I blame them.
So not the fundamentalists, which are like the hardcore people, but the moderates. They're like, yeah, we know that this isn't real, but you know what? It gives you morals and it teaches you how to live.
And it's tradition. It's what we've always done.
It's what we've always done. But guess what? You can study science and get the same results, if not better ones. Like, for example, you can study biology. You can study how altruism is natural to all life forms on Earth. Plants, animals. Like, there's tons of data from biologists that have observed traits of altruism. So that kind of just shows you, it's like, well, hey, if I'm observing the natural way, the uninterrupted order of things, let me emulate that. So science can teach you how to behave, how to act, and how to think. It's not just, these
in the event
thoughts.
That it doesn't come natural.
It's like kooky thoughts, but yeah, the religious people are strongly getting in the way of this progression.
They are trying to stand in the way of progress, and we, in solidarity with collections of, I guess we could say thousands, if not millions, around the world, trying to do our part to say hell no.
Exactly. Hell no.
Hell no.
But
hell no.
We'll be right back, but I'm going to leave you with some parting words for this first segment. Being progressive is not about politics. It's about the future of the human species. You don't have to be progressive and be on the left, right? You don't have to be progressive and be liberal. It's just a human trait. It transcends politics. Wow. So what I'm trying to say...
Simultaneously, I would also suggest that, doesn't necessarily mean you're not progressive if you are a conservative.
Yeah.
I just wanted to counterbalance.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, is like anybody can be progressive because it's not about ideology. It's about humanity. It's about humanity. So, we're going to take a break right now, but we'll be back in the Shade of Brilliance.
Hail.